Okay, let's go live. I got another great video for you. It's James Maduke speaking from trainingsites.io. And what we're going to cover today is I'm going to show you how to use Napkin AI to create absolutely perfect graphics for each of your individual lessons in your online courses. But more importantly, I'm going to show you how to use Napkin.ai to create the right kind of graphic or image for each of the individual lessons. So we're actually going to go over 8 different types of graphics. And at the end of this, you're going to be able to go, hey, this is the content that I've either created myself or used ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools to give me the content, generated the text. You're going to know exactly what kind of image you should use based on the type of text that's in your course. And picking the right kind of graphic for what it is that you're trying to convey or get across is really, really important. Now, if you're unfamiliar with me, my name is James. Trainingsites.io is my company, and what we do is, and what I do is teach people how to start, build, and grow an education business. Everything to do with creating online courses, creating out your own platform or campus, being able to really teach online and share what it is that you already know, love, and do. So that's where we're at. We're trying to figure out how do we create these graphics. And here's kind of the big problem with this when you get started. Most of the time, when someone is playing around with the graphic or they're trying to create a graphic for their particular courses, they have a couple options. And one of the ones that they usually do at the start, first time they create it, is they go to Shutterstock or any of these photography places and they've got some text and they try and find an image that they can kind of throw in. And it can be expensive and takes a lot of time to find the right one. And at the end of the day, there's no value to the image other than the fact that it breaks up the text. On the other hand, with all of the buzz about AI, a lot of people may go and they say, okay, great, I'm going to use, or I have a prompt that I can use to create a graphic in any of these AI tools. I think Midjourney and DALL-E are the 2 popular ones when I'm doing this. And what happens with those ones is if you do a prompt or create an image based on a prompt, if there's any text in it, it's often misspelled or just doesn't look right. And then if there are images of people in it, they sometimes have 2 arms or 7 fingers. It's just, they're not great. So you can either spend some time and money getting Shutterstock with no value, or you can try and use an AI tool that often isn't in context and isn't what you want. And then the other thing is a lot of people will actually pick a graphic that looks good, but again, it doesn't have any value or it doesn't help anyone learn anything or to remember anything. And what's needed at the end of the day is you're going to have a graphic that either explains a concept or visually represents and makes it easier to understand. So let's take a look at the different kinds of text you may run into. And I'm using some AI generated ones and I'll show you on the screen in a second. And we'll look at those and we'll see which is the best type of graphic to actually do this. Now, on the trainingsites.io website, we have a whole bunch of courses about all of this kind of stuff. And I'm just going to show you an example of one that we did, that I did for 4 different types of prompts, AI prompts that you can use, the 4 different kinds that use and where you use them in a particular course. So I'm going to show you that lesson and then we'll take a look at some examples and then I'll show you individually which is the best style of graphic to generate using Napkin for the kind of text that we're doing. So let me just open up another tab here. We'll open this one up. Here's a course, and it was, this one was 4 ChatGPT and Claude AI prompt styles to create better online courses. So this one's obviously about the courses. We've got a video here, a whole bunch of text. And here's an example of one that I did just to show you as one that was created with a prompt and a graphic. And you see at the top, the spelling is all wrong. It's not spelled correctly. And in this case, again, it has no kind of value in terms of remembering what it's about or having any kind of learning concept that can be applied to the particular thing. So we cover a whole bunch of stuff that's in here and there's some points. There's another one, AI prompts, a course creator. So that one's a little bit closer again, but not really too much information in it. And again, we have a whole bunch of text and this is text heavy, right? how am I going to remember something? How am I going to fit this in? So let's take a look here, and I'm just going to open this one up. We'll open up Napkin, and if you haven't already done this, this is Napkin.ai. And I talked about this one actually this morning in a video that I did talking about Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Claude, sort of the three pieces that I use to create content. Napkin is the one that I use to create the graphics for all of these individual lessons. So let's go take a look, and I'm going to open up another screen here, and we'll just do individual examples so that you can see it. So here's, let me do the first one here. So I'm just going to copy it here. So what I have is I have some text from a course. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Napkin, and I'm going to put it in, and we'll take a look at the, I'm going to call this one graphics for lesson types. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do number one. I'm going to post it in here, and we'll take a look at this one here, and we'll just do a paste. And it's again, this one is there are 5 key types for creating and selling online courses using ChatGPT and Claude. And you can see it's got 5 key steps that are here. So if I look at this, I'm trying to figure out what is the best kind of graphic to use that represents that. And of course, the best one is to use a flowchart, or in this case, an easy way to represent it is steps or a flowchart. So you have a whole bunch of options that are here, right? So we've got a little bit of a hub and a spoke one, but the best one you want to do is if you have numbered steps, it's a lot easier to use some kind of timeline. Okay, so that you can see that there's steps to it and there's a logical order to it. So the first one is if you have steps, you want to do one that has a flow chart and or a timeline that represents the content. So if I'm looking at a whole bunch of text and I want to remember which one's first, I now have a visual representation of it. So this isn't necessarily to show a complex concept. What it is just something to easily remember and know that one comes before the other. So what's the next one that we'll take a look at? We'll do another one, the second one, and I'll paste this one here. Let me do this one. I'm going to paste this one. We'll do another point here. And what I'm going to do, make sure I got a, oh, we better pick one here. So, and actually, let me do this first while I hear. Remember that when you're using Napkin, when you pick one, in this particular case, you can always go and edit these, and you can also download them and put them directly into a particular lesson that you want. And the other thing that's cool here is if I take a look at these again, and I pick the one that I want, I can always select the styles as well. So let me do this one again. Here's one. We'll pick up styles. You can see that I can change the colors of it to make it more impactful or less in the way, for example, based on what you're actually talking about, or more importantly, where it fits in. So you've got the type and the style are the ones that you can always use with Napkin. And of course, you can edit any of the content manually. Okay, so let's do this one here. I copied it. Let's do another one. And I'm going to go and let's do, let me undo that one. There we go. Okay, so let's put some more content here. The second one I'm going to do is, so ChatGPT is ideal for generating conversational course content and quizzes, while Claude excels in summarizing and refining long-term form and lessons. So this one is a comparison, right? We've got a contrast between the two or comparison between the two. Let's see what we come up with here. So here's a great example of the comparison one. So if you have text that kind of has two things on it, don't be afraid to use these kinds of comparison ones. And you can see the Napkin's really good at actually picking this out, right? It knows that the type of graphic that you're using should be one that shows there's a versus or one versus the other. If you have more than one different piece, of course, you can select quadrant ones as an example, or they have some additional, instead of a versus, this one has, for example, just the person thinking about it. And again, you can pick the styles that are there, which one that you want, and change it around. Okay, so that's number two. We've got the comparison model. Number 3. And actually, let me do this one. I'll put the list, there's 8 of them that I'm gonna go through. I'll put a list below. Actually, what I'll do is I'll create a graphic using the 8 different types, and we'll see which one it comes up with at the end on which one to use. So let's go down, I don't know, there we go. Let's do the next one, number 3. Number 3, this particular example is one that has statistics. So anytime you have statistics that are available, what you might want to do is consider using statistical or data related ones so that it's easy to remember which piece fits where. So here's a good example of using the circles. For example, this one, don't really think it fits. Again, these are different ones that are coming up, but I think the one that's kind of nice, right, is it gives you a pie chart. So anytime you have a stats or anything like that, and of course, if you have 10 different items there, a pie chart may not necessarily work, but in this case, we've got 3 statistics, and it creates a graphic that lets us know that, hey, we're pretty closely even in terms of percentages for each, and that it's easy to remember that we've got different percentages for different ones. So there's an easy style to use for that kind of graphic. Let me do that one, and we'll pick one here that's simple, and let's go on and do the next one. So that one's statistical or data ones. The other one, the next one I'm going to show you too, this one is if you have something that's cyclical or happens over and over and over again or repeats. In this particular one, the course creation process is cyclical. Ideation leads to content creation, which leads to course publishing, followed by feedback and then content revision, and things start again. So on these particular ones where you have something that's looping, it's not a bad idea to use it in terms of either the timeline again or something that steps. But the one that I like is the timeline just shows a process, right? But here's one, for example, that shows a timeline, but it's looping. So here's another one that maybe shows it. I don't think that's the best one. See, I think on these ones, it's kind of nice, right? So we have course creation cycles. Any of the ones that are looping, you want to kind of pick one that helps you know that it's something that carries on and carries on. So I like that one. Let's go and look at the styles. I'm not getting any styles, so let me see if I can pick one up. There isn't one there. Let's try one up here. And again, this is Napkin.ai putting it together. There's some different variations of it, which is kind of nice. If you want to do a horizontal or vertical, there's a nice simple one there. We'll keep that one there. So there's a nice looping one. Again, if you have anything that's kind of cyclical, put those ones together. Napkin.ai will do that. The next one I'm going to show you is hierarchically, pardon me on that one, or if there's a structure to something. So let's paste that one in and see what we come up with, or see what Napkin comes up with. These particular ones, always nice to show a cause and effect one. So any of the diagrams that kind of show if this happens, or these are the pieces that belong to it. I kind of like this one here. Like this one is nice in my opinion, just because the first one here, let me just pick that one. This one has the columns, right? And it implies if one of the columns is missing, it doesn't stand up or it doesn't work on its own. The other one that I kind of like here are any of the ones that show there's a piece missing. In this particular case, it's like all of the 4 pieces make a whole. The other one they have as a light bulb. So again, these are ones, anytime there's something structural where you have to have all of the pieces that actually work or work together, there's a great example of a type of graphic that lets you know that all of the pieces are there. If you were showing a timeline, for example, it doesn't apply to one of them missing and what happens if it's missing. So that one's a kind of a nice one. Let's use that one, we'll keep that one. Okay, so what's the next one I'm going to show you? You've got cause and effect we just did, and the next one I'm going to show you is, this is another one that's a step-by-step guide. And this is especially important if you're working on courses or processes or skills where there is a number of things that you have to do. And again, this one will probably be pretty similar, but it's got a little more meat to the particular steps. And these ones I like when we use the stair one, or when Napkin uses a stair one. And the reason I like that is because it shows a process that they're building on each other. Some of the other ones, for example, where it's just a bit of a mind map, they're all the pieces, but it doesn't imply that there's a process to it or that the things happen in a particular order. The other one that you may want to use is something, again, where you're using the pyramid, where it shows which piece builds on which piece. But those are ones, again, when you have a step-by-step guide or something that it is that you want to teach. So let's keep the stairs. Pick that one. And what's the next one? So that's number 7. Number 8. And this one again, another one that anytime that you say that there's a timeline, these are another ones that kind of come up where they fit in and there's a graphic with the steps or the pyramid. And the other one that I like with the timeline a lot of times is also the vertical. Again, personal preference, but again, it shows from top to bottom what are the different pieces that happen. And it implies, of course, that you've got to start at the top and work your way to the bottom. So what are the different types that are available for us here? What are the ones that we have to look at? So the first one is we've got the step-by-step process. And that one, again, is basically showing some kind of timeline is the preferred way of doing anything that is a step-by-step one. And of course, you got to take a look at your content, right? The actual content for the text. But if there's any kind of steps, think of anything, again, with a timeline or any kind of flow chart or something that shows up. The next one, number 2, was a comparison or a contrast. These are the ones that show a versus. And you can often have either a versus in the middle if you have 2 items, or if it's choice between 3 items, you might look at a Venn diagram, but it's kind of noticing that you have one versus the other. The other one that I've seen here is the quadrants, so that again, there's some kind of balance as to which of these you work at certain times. And again, if you're interested in any of this stuff, make sure to visit trainingsites.io. And let me bring up this one, because actually if you look on the screen down there, we do have actually a hands-on coaching program where we go through all of this, creating a course live with you, where I will do it personally. We'll use all of the prompts that we talk about here. And more importantly, at the end of it, you're going to have your complete course ready to go with the lesson plans, the lesson content, and the images all put in using the tools that we've been talking about. So one after this, statistics and data. One of the ones that's really nice, again, with these ones is when you're going to be in a position where you're actually going through and you've got a graphic that shows percentages. These are the ones where the pie charts work really, really well and shows a difference between, or the amounts or percentages between all of the other ones. Number 4 is the cycle or loop. And the cycle or loop, of course, just implies a timeline, but they're connected to each other. So any of the ones that I like there with are again either timelines, but they have to show that they're particularly connected and that there's a loop between them all. What's next after that? Well, the one after that is a hierarchy or structure. These are the ones where I often see a kind of image, where you've got some 4 legs to something, or if one of them is missing, it doesn't work. The other graphics that Napkin does really well with this are any of the ones that, for example, the light bulb they use frequently. And again, it shows that it doesn't work if one of the different pieces is completely missing. Next one is cause and effect, very similar to the choice between each other. But again, these ones put together an idea that if this happens, this happens. If this doesn't happen, this doesn't happen. So that's kind of a neat one there. Step-by-step guide. Those are the ones where you're actually going to use, again, a sequence or a series of steps. Those ones, I like the stairs. Consider those ones because it shows that there's growth in each of the individual ones. And then the timeline one, the standard timeline one, Napkin does a couple good jobs with that one, but it really shows, again, if you've got a skill or something like that, where you're in a position where there's a top to bottom, you can use one of the ones that fit there as well. So all of these are available in Napkin. These are all ones that can be quickly created. And at the end of the day, you're going to end up that you're going to be able to have your course. And if you go take a look at your course, and we're looking at the pieces, you can either have a graphic that is absolutely out of context, that doesn't mean anything, or you can go and we'll scroll down through here. We'll take a look through some of the ones that I added here a little bit later. And you can see that we've got steps to effective conversational prompting. So here's one here, for example, where we've used Napkin and we put in a series of steps that build on each other. So these are where they fit in. This is something anyone can do. Napkin.ai is free to use, and it makes it really simple to pick one of those 8 graphics for the type of content that you've generated in your course. And remember, this content doesn't have to be AI generated. Anytime that you have content that you've created in your course, even if it's from the transcription of a video, you'll be able to put it in and make sure that you've got a graphic that does one of 2 things. One is it explains the concept that you're trying to explain, or 2, makes a visual representation of the content so it's much easier to remember. So hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe to the channel and check out one of the videos up here. I do these every day. They're all live sessions and they're all about teaching you how to start, build, and grow your education, business, and more importantly, create and teach online, which is a lot of fun. And it's something that anyone can do, even if it's the over 40 side hustle or gig. I'm sure you got a lot to share. You've got lots of experience and lots of answers. So don't be afraid to get out there and create your course and sell it online. This is James speaking from Training Sites.io. Take care, expect the best. We'll see you again tomorrow.